Attention, please.
Great news for Globetrotters. After an agonizing 2-year-long wait, Australia announced that it's finally reopening its borders for all double vaccinated travelers. With me is Nishant Kashikar, country head at Tourism Australia in India, who's going to help us shed some light on this latest development. Welcome to Moneycontrol. Welcome to Miles to Go, Nishant.
Hey, thank you so much, Rahul. So good to see you. And I'm really excited with this news of Australia finally opening its borders to Indian travelers, not just Indian travelers, but travelers around the world. So Monday, the 21st of February is the D-Day, and all Indian travelers can now pack their bags and head to Australia.
Great. So I just want to clarify, I couldn't actually believe it when I read the news that all double vaccinated are finally allowed, because what Europe has done, some countries in Europe, what they've done is they've reduced the validity of the second dose to like 4 months or 5 months. So none of that with Australia, right?
None of that with Australia. So if you're double vaccinated or fully vaccinated, you can travel to Australia. Most importantly, quarantine free. You don't have to isolate yourself or stay under any kind of quarantine once you arrive into Australia. And you can travel on a holiday to meet your beloved friend or your relative, or you can attend a business conference. If you want to go there for the purpose of education or for studying, you can travel to Australia. So any purpose of visitation, anyone can enter Australia from Monday.
Is this applicable for all Covaxin, all the people who have taken Covaxin as well, or is it just restricted to Covishield?
So the good news is that both the vaccines, that's Covishield and Covaxin, is recognized by the Australian government. So, and plus, as I said, you don't have to take a booster shot or the third jab to enter Australia at this stage.
Is this new development, this new rule, is this applicable across Australia, or every state in Australia has their own sort of, modification or variation to this rule?
So the rules are more or less consistent across states, barring a few. So if you're entering Australia, the first thing that you need to do is undertake a self-monitored rapid antigen test within 24 hours of your arrival. And that's the standard rule across all the states. If you're traveling to Sydney, that's the state of New South Wales, you got to take a second rapid antigen test on or after day 6 of your arrival.
Okay.
Given the fact that you're not going to stay in Sydney for say 5 or 6 days and you're heading to another state, then the state that you enter into, you'll have to take another RAT or a rapid antigen test once you arrive in that particular state. In the state of South Australia, you need to do a PCR instead of a RAT. So all the information on the protocols or the rules applicable to each state are available on 2 websites, which is www.health.gov.au and www.australia.gov.au/states.
Okay.
So this is where you find the most updated information, and I would urge all the travelers to visit these websites before your travel.
I believe Western Australia isn't fully open yet, so those who want to travel to Perth have to still hold on, or there's a 2-week quarantine rule.
Yes, there is a 2-week quarantine rule for those who intend to enter into Perth or enter into Western Australia. And hopefully, I guess, I'm sure the government will relax those norms for Indian travelers and travelers around the world pretty soon.
What about your PCR test before you board your flight? A lot of destinations also have that requirement, right? Like 72 hours or perhaps 48 or 24 hours prior to your flight, prior to your departure, you're required to take that RT-PCR test. Is that a requirement with Australia as well?
So all you need is a valid visa. You need a vaccination certificate. You need a negative PCR report done 72 hours prior to your departure. And most importantly, you also need a digital passenger declaration, which needs to be submitted 72 hours prior to your visit or prior to your departure. And this is similar to the Air Suvidha app. So this is the DPD, or the digital passenger declaration, is the Australian equivalent of the Air Suvidha portal, which needs to be submitted 72 hours prior to your departure. So if you have a visa, if you have a vaccination certificate, or if you're fully vaccinated, if you have a negative RT-PCR report, and if you've done the DPD, you're ready to go.
Great. And when you land, you take a rapid antigen test. Not at the airport. You can go to your hotel or to your relative's place,
yes,
and just take the RT test. And if you're negative, you're free to move around.
absolutely.
What happens if you're tested positive and you don't report?
Just in case, and God forbid, if you test positive upon arrival, you got to report it to the relevant state authority and upload this information on the state-specific app. And you'll have to quarantine yourself for 14 days
at your own expense.
At your own expense, of course.
Okay. And hoping that everything goes smooth and you don't have to you don't test positive. Once you land, once you've checked into your hotel, and once you're free to roam around this city or any other destination, any other city in Australia or any other region in Australia, what are some of the do's and don'ts? What about mask requirements in public places?
I mean, like what we follow in India, we should continue to follow similar protocols in Australia as well. So if you're entering any indoor spaces or restaurants and public places, it's advisable that you wear a mask, you maintain that social distancing and keep sanitizing, at every possible juncture. So I guess the COVID protocols and the sanitization rules are consistent across the world.
Right. So just like anywhere else, just I guess use your own intelligence and don't be silly about the whole thing. Wear a mask where you're supposed to. When you're outdoors, I'm guessing there's no requirement to wear a mask. But if you're going into super crowded places, mask up and just be responsible, right?
I guess the good thing about Australia is that given the size of the country, which is almost 2.5 times the size of India, and with the population of just maybe around Delhi or Mumbai, social distancing happens naturally in Australia. So you wouldn't find too many people if you're just driving along the Great Ocean Road or the Grand Pacific Drive or within the state or in the surrounds of each city. So you wouldn't find too many people in Australia that you would encounter. So
just covering all bases, and what if you decide to walk into a concert or something? I was looking at those sort of scenarios.
Well, if you would have seen the recent Ashes, whether it's the MCG or the SCG or the Adelaide Oval, they're all packed with people. So yes, you got to be careful when you're on a holiday. You don't want to spoil the mood of your holiday once you're there.
Sure, absolutely. And coming back to kids now, a lot of kids, families that want to travel to Australia, right? You probably have the kids who haven't been eligible for a jab yet, young kids, 5, 7, 8 years old. What about those families who want to finally take a vacation in Australia, but perhaps because their kids aren't vaccinated? Are they still permitted to travel, or they have to perhaps wait till their kids are jabbed?
Okay, this is slightly tricky because every country has now opened up vaccination for different age groups. Yeah. So if your kids are under the age of 12, you can fly to Australia along with fully vaccinated adults or parents.
Yes.
Your kids are between 15 to 18, and India has opened a vaccination for that particular age group. They can also travel to Australia if they're fully vaccinated or partially vaccinated along with their parents. But the age group of 12 to 15 is where there's a slight complexity or lack of clarity. And for that, I would urge you to visit the websites that I just mentioned, the www.australia.gov.au/states to get state-specific information on the safety protocols and the quarantine rules for kids who are unvaccinated.
We are hoping that the rule doesn't change. We're hoping the scenario doesn't change. And I bet your phones haven't stopped ringing.
Absolutely. We're quite excited. There's a huge pent-up demand for travel. Indian families haven't traveled overseas. Those who got married over the past couple of years haven't gone on their honeymoons as yet. And Australia is one of those most sought after holiday destinations for Indian travelers. And the good thing is that the ICC T20 World Cup will be taking place in Australia in October and November 2022. And we've already seen a huge demand from corporates, from families, and all the cricket fanatics who want to travel and watch the games at the MCG, the SCG, the Adelaide Oval. And it coincides with the Diwali holiday season as well. So that's a big draw card for somebody to visit Australia. And there's another important thing for the travelers that I wish to highlight is a scheme called the Visa Application Charge Waiver. So if you were holding a valid Australian visa or an Australian tourist visa and were unable to travel during COVID, that is between March 20th, 2020 and between June 30th, 2022, or if your visa was expiring between these two dates, then you are eligible and entitled to apply for a visa without paying an application charge. So it's a very, kind offer by the Department of Home Affairs, by the Australian government. And I would urge all the travelers whose visa was possibly expiring during that particular period and could not travel to Australia for whatever reasons to avail this visa application charge waiver benefit.
We've just about missed the summer season in Australia, and we're soon getting into the winter. With April, May, you start getting into the Australian winter. Is the demand still there for the Australian winter, or do people want to travel to Australia in that period, or is the peak demand usually there during the Australian summer?
In fact, when the temperatures in India literally soars and reaches that 35 and 40 degrees, especially in North India, you would want to head to a place which is slightly cooler, right?
Right.
And the Australian winter starts in June, between June, July, August. And that's a perfect time for you to actually be in Australia as well. So it really works well for us. It coincides with our annual school holiday break that we all enjoyed. And in fact, we get two peaks. One is during the month of May and another one during December to celebrate Christmas, New Year, and to see the spectacular fireworks at the harbour.
And are all the airlines now looking to fly to Australia, or are we still in that travel bubble and we have to wait and watch?
So yes, there are multiple options that you can avail if you're flying to Australia. The good news is that Qantas, the national carrier of Australia, has started flying direct from Sydney and Melbourne into New Delhi. You also have Air India flying 4 flights a week from Delhi into Sydney and New Delhi. So there you have direct flight options if you're flying from North India. But you also have the option of flying Singapore Airlines, which flies almost out of 10 or 11 cities from India. You have the option of flying via some of the Middle Eastern carriers like Etihad, Emirates, or Qatar Airways. And I guess once the ban on scheduled commercial international air services is lifted by DGCA, you'll have the options of flying even Malaysia Airlines, Thai Airways, Cathay Pacific, Sri Lankan, Scoot, AirAsia, Malindo. You have more than 10 or 12 flight options to fly to Australia.
And that ban is in place until the end of the month, right? Until the end of
As of now, it's the ban is in place until the end of the month. We hope that that ban is lifted pretty soon so that we can all travel, to our favorite destination. That's Australia.
Great. And Nishant, where are you seeing demand coming in from? Is it from the leisure traveler or is it from the MICE sector?
I guess we see a huge pent-up demand, and I firmly believe that India will be amongst the fastest growing markets for all the international destinations, primarily because, as I said earlier, we haven't taken that long break. We missed that in 2020, we missed that in 2021. We're really eager to travel with our family, our loved ones in 2022, hopefully. And I'm sure, the announcement by the Australian government is going to ensure that we all, plan a holiday to Australia. But even the corporates, even the employees who have earned the incentives and were unable to travel will have an opportunity to travel to their favorite destinations once the borders open. But I firmly believe that India will continue to be the fastest growing inbound market, not just for Tourism Australia, but for major international destinations around the world.
Yes, we certainly hope so. And thank you so much, Nishant. That was wonderful. And I think all of us are waiting to take to the skies. And I'm personally looking forward to going back to the land down under. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rahul. Absolute pleasure.